Thank you for joining us today. I have Reverend Irma Ford here and myself, Jean Kennedy, as we launch our first show of empowerment and exploring the magnificence of your divine. This show is sponsored by the Center for Spiritual Enrichment. It stands as a testament to the founder of our center, who now resides in our hearts, and as a living memorial to her memory, Reverend Sue Constantinides, Doctor of Divinity. Reverend Sue started her ministry 25 years ago in San Bernardino and was duly ordained minister of religious science and of unity. It is said that the joy is in the journey. And what a journey this has been to get to where we are today. We have a group called the Church Ladies, and we've been meeting, for many, many years. It is from this group that our love of Reverend Sue, that this show has come forth. My son said, "Wow, Mom, you're going to do church chat." I assured him that we're not going to be doing the superiority dance. We're going to leave that to Dana Carvey and Saturday Night Live. We are carrying on Reverend Sue's ministry by sharing with others the religious science and unity teachings. I was raised in Thailand and was taken to the Buddhist temple by my nurse and her family. When we came to the United States, my parents took me to the Episcopal Church, and all I wanted to do was find out when the movie started. While I was raised in the Episcopal faith, I always felt that something was missing, and when I discovered religious science, I found my spiritual home. There are many paths to God, and each of us, as divine expressions of God, must find our own path. And it is our goal today to help you find the joy in your journey.
And so this is Reverend Irma. I would like to give you a very good reason for continuing to listen to our program each Sunday morning at this time frame. What we want you to understand is that you are a magnificent human being. For one thing, you are a child of the universe, and what you are simply is an expression of God. God working in and through you as universal spirit. Have you ever felt sometimes that you're not within the scheme of things, that you're not within the flow of life? What we want you to understand then is that you are, because you are a child of God. And you can flow easily into the universal atmosphere and be aware of who you are. And once again, who you are is a child of the universe, and what you are simply is a perfect expression of that divine self where God lives, moves, and has its being in and through you. So we want to help you to waken up to your spiritual magnificence here each Sunday. And because you are a child of the universe, you are absolutely welcome to all, and you're entitled to everything that there is in the universe. So what we have is abundance, what we have is health, and we have perfect relationships. And so we want you to be totally aware of what those things are. And so before we totally move into our program this morning, I'd like to offer a prayer. So I invite you to be still and just simply to know. Understand that today is a brand new day, and that we are open to the good that comes forth in this day. So come now and join me in this declaration of perfection. Right where I am, there is peace, a presence, a power. It is the infinite intelligence and eternal good of life. I align myself with this reality and speak this word for myself and anyone else who chooses to receive its fulfillment. Simply, the word I speak is spirit and life-giving and will not return to me void. Wherever I am and whatever I am involved with, I know the divine presence is there. I know the peace that passes all understanding is within and steadies me in moments of surprise or even in moments of uncertainty, for it can never be shaken. It is peace and knows itself to be just that. I know that which shows up as mine to do today. I am able to rise to the occasion and be fully present to meet the need. Now, for all of our leaders and all those in positions of leadership, those entrusted or endowed with civic and or governmental responsibilities, I ask for guidance, believing that divine guidance is freely given. For the people in our diverse communities, let this word be one of harmony that facilitates a realization of our oneness, that our sameness is also our uniqueness in this world, and it is good. For those low in spirit or low in faith, I know the presence of spirit never leaves nor forsakes, but awaits our turning to it. I accept that a spark of life refreshes the weary soul. In confidence, I affirm an enduring, continuous faith in this spirit of life to help all experience life more abundantly. So in this moment, I turn into sweet surrender to the infinite spirit of life, letting go of my concerns and limited perspectives to allow something better than what I think to come forth to bless us all. And I accept unexplainable goods showing up in many forms as the supply for our sustenance. I affirm that God is the eternal livingness of life to all, and for this I give thanks, knowing it is accomplished now in this brand new day. And so it is.
So it is.
Amen. Okay, so now we want to proceed into giving just a very brief lesson at this point in time on the dual philosophies that we are espousing here today. We're speaking of religious science and unity. Both of these philosophies are considered what we call new thought, because it is a new thought based on ancient wisdom of many days before, many years before, eons before. But we bring it forward as a principle of what we call new thought. Now, in religious science, we have what we call spiritual practices, and I know that you probably have that as well. But our spiritual practices consist of what we call affirmative prayer. It consists of inspirational reading. It consists of all things that empower us and help us to recognize our divinity. It speaks to us of meditation. That is a spiritual practice as well. That's when we become still and allow the presence that is God to live, move, and write on the blank pages of our mind those things that are to come to us and reveal themselves to us as divine ideas for us to follow up with. So those are the spiritual practices that we have in religious science. We also want you to understand that the idea of new thought is something that came forth back in the mid 18th century. There was a gentleman named Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, and he's known as the father of the New Thought movement because of his insistence on the powers of the mind in regards to physical healing. And of course, now we take it for granted that the mind is instrumental in the healing process, but it wasn't always so. So Quimby was a noteworthy figure of the early 1800s in America, of which another lady, Emma Curtis Hopkins, who gained the moniker of Mother of New Thought due to her high-profile work and the fact that her students founded United Church of Religious Science, Divine Science, and the Unity Church. Now, Ralph Waldo Emerson also had an impact on New Thought. 1880s New Thought has been linked heavily with one of the popular works of Ralph Waldo Emerson's. Being a movement, the New Thought movement absorbs and incorporates the teachings of its proponents. This is to say that while Emerson was not a New Thought teacher or principal advocate of New Thought, his teachings influenced the very core principles of the movement itself. So, Science of Mind then was established in 1927 by Ernest Holmes and is a spiritual and philosophical, metaphysical, religious movement within the New Thought tradition. In general, the term science of mind applies to the teachings, while the term religious science applies to the organizations involved. Dr. Holmes founded the International Religious Science Movement in 1927 and popularized it with the widespread distribution and popularity of his many books, including the Science of Mind textbook, as well as the magazine Science of Mind magazine, which has been in continuous publication since 1927. Science of Mind was founded as a teaching institution dedicated to helping people gain a sense of their relationship to God and their place in the universe, with a positive, supportive approach to daily living. It wasn't until the last years of his life that Dr. Holmes allowed the Science of Mind movement to formalize its religious overtones and become the Church of Religious Science. There are core beliefs in religious science, and we'll talk about a couple of those right now, and then we're going to move into a revelation of what unity is about. But let's look at the core beliefs of the Church of Religious Science. One thing that we believe in is we believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by his creation. Another core belief is that we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. And we believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. And there are many steps that are involved in being conscious of the fact that we are consciousness expressing. So right now I'm going to turn this over to Jean, and she's going to talk to you about the unity philosophy.
I think we are going to continue with the Science of Mind credo, which is the things that we believe in. We believe that the ultimate goal of life is to be complete freedom from any discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is the one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of this truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. We believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. We believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny. We understand that the life of all is God. The interesting thing about religious science, I believe, is that it gives us the steps to live by, and it allows for us to practice the presence of God in our life daily. I am a religious science practitioner. I was credentialed through Emerson Theological Institute. As a practitioner, my goal daily is try to practice the presence of God within me and to have that, to shine it out to all that are in my experience. I believe that each one of us is a divine spirit made manifest here in human form. And with that, we know that spirit is whole, perfect, and complete. So each and every one of us is whole, perfect, and complete. Reverend Irma?
Yes, thank you. And we believe that everyone is whole, perfect, and complete. And to that end, Jean, as a practitioner, steps forward into her daily prayer work, as so do I in my daily prayer work. And we pray for people, for their needs. We want to understand the truth of their nature. And as we do this, we offer up what we call affirmative prayer in the form of spiritual mind treatment daily to make an adjustment in the affairs of the individual for whom we are praying. And we are delighted to do this. It is a profession for us. And we will accept prayer requests on our show at some point before this program ends today. And we will continue those prayers for quite a while. So I invite you here to consider the fact that you are a magnificent child of God. I will present a message very shortly after our station break so that we will connect with that. And the topic that we'll be speaking of today is Here I Am, God, and for you to know who you are in the divine scheme of things. And once again, and I say it quite often, you are a child of the universe, and what you are, simply put, is God expressing itself in and through you.
Thank you, Reverend Irma. That is so true. And I'm glad you brought up Emma Curtis Hopkins, because one of my favorite quotes from her is that a violet does not struggle to be. Here in our human form, a lot of times we struggle, and we don't have to. In the religious science philosophy, change your mind, change your thinking. If you don't like the way something is happening, then change your reaction to it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And
That's right.
These are some of the great takeaways from the teachings that we follow and that we practice. Another one that I love of Ernest Holmes, and I did not bring my textbook with me, but let's go for it. My feet shall not falter, for they are kept upon the path of life through the power of the eternal Spirit, and that Spirit is my spirit now. So guide my feet, compel my way, and keep me in thy presence. And that is something that I say every day, because I want to be in with the indwelling God within me and practice heaven within me. I also believe that there are many different truths. Each truth is individualized for that person. Along with the paths to God, it is also the individual truth for that person. And I believe that we all travel our individual path with God.
Our break for a few moments, and when we come back, I will present a message for you that I hope is empowering and sustaining for you today.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi. For this morning, patchy fog, otherwise a sunny day with a high of 72. Becomes mostly cloudy tonight, low 52. Monday, time to clouds and sun, high 70. Cloudy and cool Tuesday with a good chance for showers, high 60. Partly sunny, maybe a shower Wednesday, high 68. I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California, KCAA, 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and the Legacy, 1050 AM, Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email ceo@kcaaradio.com.
KCAA.
Psst. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you know where you are? Well, you've done it now. You're listening to KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station. So expect the unexpected.
We're back again, and this is Jean Kennedy, and I have Reverend Irma Forward with us today, and she is going to be giving us our message. And you have joined Wake Up Awakenings on KCAA 1050 on the AM dial. Reverend Irma?
Thank you, Jean. Thank you. I'm excited. This is our first message today, and what I'd like for everyone to understand is that we are so much a part of that divine presence that we know and that we call God. However, we have to make ourselves known. And so today, the topic is, Here I Am, God. And this is a message that is based on religious science teaching. It is also based on what we understand from unity teachings. And so there will be something in here for you specifically. So listen closely. But we all have certain writers and theologians and philosophers with which we resonate. We all have our favorite romance or a mystery writer. In the theological genre, there are many writers to which we as ministers can relate. A rabbi, Abraham Heschel, has written a book entitled God in Search of Man. This title causes one to believe that God is looking for us as if we are playing a game of hide and seek with the essence that we call God. And we literally sometimes do. Heschel's idea indicates that God looks for us as individuals and as communities. However, when we as humans think about God, it is then becomes us who are the seekers as we struggle to define some sense of the divine. Because this world is of diverse cultures, the name of God takes on many forms, such as Buddha, Krishna, Jesus the Christ, the Absolute. Heschel in this book posits the theory that God indeed is searching for his beloved. And it is our response to this call that determines the quality of our spiritual life. It determines our spiritual big me. Our response is often determined by the creative thoughts that we think. Jean referred to earlier as we want to change our thinkings and we can change the outward things in our life. Recognize that our response is often determined by the creative thoughts that we think. However, the answer that is expected of us when there is this divine urge tugging at our heartstrings is simply a response, yes or no. These 2 words are simple and contain either 2 or 3 letters. Yet the call to the response can be 4 words. Here I am, God. Here I am, ready and willing to be an active participant in the creation of my life experience. Here I am, full of compassion and love of life, being supportive to the less fortunate. And now, as Wake Up Awakenings, we have on Sunday mornings this show that we want to present to you so that you will understand who you are. There is a book entitled The Art of Being, written by a religious science minister, Dr. Dean Merritt Jones. One dialogue in this book is on how to be of service. How can we show up for God as community to serve those less fortunate in material goods, but also less fortunate in their recognition of their divinity? How can you or I show up to support our neighbor in reaching their goals? In this wonderful nation we live in, no matter the partisan politics, are we ready to step up and accept the responsibilities and to accept the privilege of living life in the U.S. of A? If we say yes, that is answering the call. This is one of the goals of the Jewish way of living, is to experience commonplace deeds as spiritual adventure, to feel the hidden love and wisdom in all things. We have a job from Spirit, whether it's being a parent, a teacher, single or married, or as a nation, or to be a global leader. Whatever our God job is, we want to be perfect in it and live life from a point of pure spirit, from the center of our authenticity. We must live with the sacred covenants and contracts that we have made for our lives by saying with sincerity, "Here I am, God." Many people have dramatic stories of their call to God. Each of us has a story, and each story is important and significant and dramatic in its own way. My story is one of simplicity. During a period of meditation, I simply was outside of myself, observing myself in the meditative experience. From that moment on, it was as if God was constantly in my face with the opportunities presented for sacred service. Now, if you want high drama of one's call to God, you'll have to go to the Bible. St. Paul, known at that time as Saul, was knocked off his horse and blinded by a bolt of lightning, then heard the words of Jesus himself. Peter and James and John had a miraculous catch of fish. Isaiah saw a host of seraphim and the Lord himself seated on a high and lofty throne. Let's face it, for most of us, the call to Spirit is not that dramatic and often not that clear. But then again, many times we know that there's a certain something tugging at our heartstrings, urging us to reach for a higher vision for our lives. We know what needs to be done and what should be done, but we are often in denial of this call upon our lives. We ignore it, we doubt it, we discount it, and ultimately we wait for the cosmic 2x4 to hit us over the head, grabbing our attention. But somehow, and sometimes, that dramatic bolt of lightning never comes. Sometimes, as it says in Scripture, God is not in the wind or the thunder, but in a still small voice within us. You see, we are all mystics, and this is not mysterious. It is mystical. On page 327 in our Science of Mind textbook, Holmes describes a mystic as one who instinctively knows the truth and without mental process arrives at spiritual realization. As we tap into our mystic nature, we answer the call of God the Good upon our lives. Don't wait for the cosmic 2x4. Don't demand that the Lord appear to you in glorious high definition and surround sound. Look for that still, small, voice. There is work for you, work that only you can do. What is going to be response? Oh, I know there are reasons why you cannot possibly do what you think the presence is asking you to do. There are always reasons. Been there, done that. Jean has been there. She's done that. Procrastination does tremendous damage to us and others at work. It causes unnecessary pressure and problems, and it wastes opportunities, time, and money. The problem is that procrastination is addicting. The more you succumb to it, the harder it is to change, and it becomes a way of life, causing you a lot of misery. I once heard another radio commentator state that it was annual procrastination day, but it had been put off until next year when the weather is better. Now, the Bible in Ecclesiastes, the 11th chapter and the 4th verse says, if you wait for perfect conditions, you will never get anything done. Say vocation, and we tend to picture priests and ministers and rabbis, religious sisters and brothers. The truth is that vocation is more a process than a job, and it doesn't involve just certain people. All are called. It's about finding the way in which that inner presence God asks us to become fully present in the now moment, the person we are created to be. It is also about loving others as God loves us. We tend to look for God in the midst of big things and events. Recalling the story of Moses and the burning bush. In the Old Testament account, Moses was an interesting sort. He had wandered about shepherding animals after spending time in the Egyptian court. He had also killed an Egyptian and, escaping to another country, found that he could help some distressed maidens as they gathered water in the land of Midian. By identifying himself to Moses as I am, at that time, God said, I am. And God is declaring that he always exists in the immediate now. He isn't bound by time like we are. You see, this was at the bush after Moses had climbed the mountain for a bit and found the burning bush, and the bush would not go out. So God revealed himself to Moses at that time and said, I am. God spoke to Moses from the midst of the bush. Moses, Moses. God speaks to us today in the middle of all of our circumstances. God recognizes you in the middle of each and every hill and valley of your life. It is yours to say, here I am, God. Surrender yourself to the presence of pure and infinite spirit at all times. In surrendering to the call of the presence, Moses went on to do great and wonderful things, such as freeing his people from bondage and leading them to the land of milk and honey. Milk and honey being a metaphor in this instance for the land of good food and for land itself. And as I heard one comedian say, lots of the goodies of life, but a land with no oil. But nonetheless, Moses became a local hero. He waged war on his enemies and led his people to the promised land. He became stuff that legends are made of. We don't say then, by following your call, you become a legend, but you do step into that place where holiness dwells. And where wholeness is the order of the day. We referred earlier to Paul and his experience on the road to Damascus as he was blinded by a bright light in a most dramatic fashion. All prior beliefs were wiped away, as well as his ignorance when he unwittingly returned to his higher self. His sense of separation was eliminated, and after a period of practicing the presence, he acknowledged that there was a Christ presence within him. In other words, he said, here I am, God. Believe me, the previous thoughts Saul had were injurious to all who did not agree with his thought process. This brilliant light helped him to weed out the negative thoughts and embrace Christ consciousness. As James Allen says in the book, As a Man Thinketh, Paul, as Saul, was governed by uncontrolled passion and was being blown away by anxiety and doubt. The light awakened him to controlled thoughts, and the winds and storms of his soul were purified. You see, once again, as Holmes says, thoughts are things. Yes, humanity surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown about by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, make the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever you may be, under whatever conditions you may live, know this. In the ocean of life, the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming. Keep your hand firmly on the helm of thought. Change your thinking, change your life. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does but sleep, but wake him. Self-control is strength, right thought is mastery, and calmness is power. We hold the key to all of our circumstances by the simple but powerful concept of thoughts are things. I invite you to recognize the Christ consciousness within you, to expand your higher self. Since before Abraham I was, I am, and I am here in the midst of you. You see, being rooted in the divine means that we claim our birthright of creativity. Let me repeat that. Being rooted in the divine means that we claim our birthright of creativity. The Spirit of God is already within us, and because of this, we are able to live the life of our dreams. Claim your birthright. Claim up any perception standing in the way of living the life of your dreams, and let yourself experience your life. Answer the call. Here I am, God. Recognizing the Christ consciousness within you to expand your higher self. Since before Abraham was, I am here in the midst of you. And so I celebrate you at this moment. I celebrate the Christ in you through your words and deeds, through your positive thoughts and your unconditional love. And once again, this is Wake Up Awakenings. I am Reverend Irma Forward, a minister of religious science. I present to you at this moment Jean Kennedy, a practitioner of religious science, committed to knowing the truth at all times about your spiritual perfection.
Thank you, Reverend Irma. That was beautiful. I loved your message today. As we are in this place right now, we will be doing prayer requests. Eventually, we will have call-ins, but you can also submit prayer requests during the week at our Facebook page. Just private message us. And it is Wake Up Awakenings on Facebook. Private message us your prayer request, and we will treat for you during the week, and we will do your prayer on next week's show. Currently, we do have a list of some people. And Reverend Irma, would you like to start us off?
Yes. And so knowing that there's only one mind, it is the mind of God. It is the mind that lives, moves, and has its perfect being in and through each one of us at all times, not sometimes, but all times, waiting to receive the desire of our heart, and knowing that it is relatively easy to accommodate that desire. Once there is a change in the thinking of the person requesting the prayer, the question during the prayer can also be one for abundance and for love. And in this very moment, we have a prayer request coming in from Beverly. Beverly has lost Georgia, and we are simply knowing right here and right now that there are precious memories to sustain Beverly at this very moment on her loss of Georgie. We are simply giving thanks for this opportunity to be with her in spirit in prayer, and knowing that the memories that she has will sustain her at this time. And we are knowing that there is perfect divine right order for Jean right now, that there is wisdom, that there is guidance revealing itself in and through her right now, that divine wisdom is readily available. She opens up and receives it, refines herself by finding the places where this wisdom is revealed to her, and guidance becomes a part of her life.
We also bring Jan and Judy into our consciousness and into our prayers and into our heart, so they find peace and they know that everything is the way it should be, and it is whole, perfect, and complete for them. We need to bring Billy into mind for continued good work, that his business prospers and continues and satisfies all that is necessary in his life for him and his family. And for Turner and Jordan, there be love, peace, and the joy in their future union. For Lilia, for divine guidance to know what her future is going to hold, to make the right choices and to take the proper steps to ensure that future, that she is divinely guided with love and wisdom. And for Mara, divine protection and guidance so that she graduates and leaves this summer for her higher education. For Jim and Judy, perfect health abounds for both of them in the love and light of God. And Elaine, perfect healing is taking place right now for Elaine, that she is in comfort and love and peace, and the light of God shines upon her.
In addition, we speak our word, knowing that our word cannot return to us void. We acknowledge that we are delighted to pray and to speak our word of faith, to speak our word of affirmation for each one that we have listed here this morning. We are simply declaring also that this being the first day of our presentation of Wake Up Awakenings, we are delighted that we know that this program itself has a very powerful message to present to the public and for those seeking to change their life. We are here to support implementation of changes. We are here to support knowing that the word spoken cannot return to us void, and the word that we speak today is for success for this program and for an ongoing process of understanding this idea of New Thought philosophy. We simply give thanks for that. We are thankful for this radio station that is supporting our efforts in putting this philosophical ideas out to the public. We are in deep gratitude for that. And we give thanks for KCAA Radio 1050 AM dial. And we are once again very grateful for that. We would simply like to know, let you know that on various Sundays that we will have announcements about church events coming from the various churches in this philosophy. We will have some for you next week. And we are also looking to the idea that if you are interested in supporting this program, if you like what you've heard here today, we invite you to continue to be a part of that by submitting your donations to us. And we will be happy to keep supporting this. And we are speaking our word for all of this to unfold with ease, with grace, because it is the mind of God in action right now. And so for this, we give thanks, and so it perfectly is. Again, Wake Up Awakenings, KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 on your AM dial, 102.3 on your FM dial. Thank you.
Something else that we are hoping to accomplish with our show is to support the local New Thought churches in the area. And we encourage everyone, if you like the message that you heard today, and if you continue listening, to please attend some of those churches. Find the one that's going to be the perfect fit for you.
And we'll have a list of those churches for you next week, and we'll be happy to send the list out to you by mail. Just let us know your name and address and so forth.
Yep, just go to our Facebook page and private messages, and it is Wake Up Awakenings.
Thank you for watching or listening to our program today. We'll be with you next week. Thank you.